Okay. Yeah, obviously played a very good football team, and we made too many mistakes in order to beat that team on the road. They had some talent, but there was a lot of self-inflicted errors there. So look forward to getting back into practice and getting going for this week and get in front of our home fans at SB Ballard Stadium. So we play a very good North Carolina Central team. I believe they're 27-8 over the last 3 years, and so they're a good football team. So look forward to that challenge. Questions?
What positives did you take away from that game that is going to help you in ensuing weeks?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of positives, maybe individual players here and there. Our red zone defense was good. I mean, we held them to 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and then no points on 2 other drives. I mean, as an offense, you're looking to score around 70% red zone touchdowns, and we held them to 40%. So that's huge. That was massive. Won the fourth quarter. So the guys, fought the whole game and did some things there. So, there's some positives to take from it. We were able to create some explosive plays. Our explosive play percentage was higher than theirs, and so some of those sort of things. But overall, I think one of the main things is when we play our game and play up to our potential, we can play with anybody in the country, and that's what we showed. We just we have to be more consistent about that.
What will you'll be working on this week to kind of get the offense going?
Yeah, I think for us, we've got to be able to stay on the field. We have to be more consistent on first and second down, but really also we can't have the turnovers. And the turnovers, it's easy to, that was a bunch of different things that were causing that. It wasn't just, everyone sees an interception, just thinks it's the quarterback's issue, and that's just not the case. There are a bunch of different things going on there. So we can't turn the ball over. That's something that has to happen. And we just have to continue to just be more detail-oriented in both our run and our pass game, and be more physical, I think, in the run game. We were on people. We weren't getting the movement that we needed to get in order to get that little bit. And then, it's some of our run reads, too. I mean, we had a couple plays where if we make a little bit of a different read once we had the football, I think we might have had another 50, 60-yard touchdown. So those things have got to happen because you just don't get very many opportunities to have those.
Do you, I guess the eagerness to play at home, be back in front of the home crowd, I would imagine is pretty exciting for you guys after not being here since November.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, we have a lot of new guys, so usually, you have a home hotel and a home field that is comfortable, and so you get that. We have so many new guys that it's still going to be a little bit of a learning curve for those guys. So, but it's going to be great to have the support of the home fans and not have to travel. I mean, there's just simple things like when you travel, you tend to get a little bit more dehydrated and just little things like that. So you got to concentrate on those sort of things a little bit more. If you forget something, it's forgotten. There's no getting that thing later on and at home. It's not that you want to still forget things, but at least somebody can run back to the office and get it. Things like that. So there's just little advantages to playing at home that obviously is why overall the home record is going to be better for basically everybody in college football.
On the defensive side of things, you look at their rushing yards, and that was certainly aided by some missed calls by the refs. But what can you do, moving forward to kind of limit, those explosive rushing plays?
We got to strike. We got to strike our keys. We were catching blocks a little bit too much, and then therefore it's much harder to disengage from a block when you're catching all the time. So we got to attack and strike our keys, and then we got to just stay in our gaps. There was too many times where we had some guys, and it wasn't, it happens in first games, but you get into some like hero ball things where guys are trying to make a play instead of just make the play that presents itself, and that can turn into some explosive plays on the other side. So we've got to just make sure that everybody does their job, and if everybody does their job, I feel confident that we'll be in the right spot.
Was there a guy or two where you left there thinking, yeah, okay, this is going to be he really showed out this week?
I mean, there were quite a few guys I thought played pretty well. I thought, obviously Nikendre, he made a couple plays there for us. The fourth down stop, causing the fumble, and the tackle in the open field on one of the RPO plays that they had. So I thought he played pretty well. I thought, I thought there were a bunch of different guys. I thought Mario Easterly played pretty well. And I thought our corners stepped up, particularly in the red zone. We had a couple, we stopped some fades and things like that. So there were some big time positives, in the secondary. I thought you saw guys getting knocked back and things at time on the defensive line across the board. I thought Jason, for the first time and playing significant ball in a long time, I thought, he ended up, playing pretty well. And really, I saw him get better as the game went. I think his best ball was in the fourth quarter. So that was a positive. On the offensive side of the ball, I thought we played well, and they had some pretty good edge pass rushers, and I thought our pass protection was pretty good on the edge. And so I thought that was a good thing. I think our wideouts, you saw them be able to get open. We just got to continue to make sure that we're being detailed on the routes and things like that. But I saw some guys be able to get open and do some things.
Outside of the two explosive plays from Colton, how do you kind of talk to him about being able to open up the offense more for his passing game and airing out the ball?
Well, I mean, we threw the ball, 22 times, and I think we had 48 total offensive plays. So, we were about 50-50 on calls in terms of run pass. So, I think that it's more about just making sure we're executing at a higher clip. It's not necessarily the production. It's just more about the execution. And again, that's everybody. That's maybe a blitz doesn't get picked up the right way. So now that causes some timing issues. Maybe it's a route's not run the right way. Maybe we have a wrong split. And then obviously the quarterback makes mistakes too, right? So it's everybody, and we got to just execute at a higher clip. It's not necessarily. There's going to be some games where you're going to throw for 350 yards. There's going to be some games where you're going to run for 300, and so we just have to be willing to take what the defense gives us. But there were some pass plays that we were being given that we didn't take advantage of, and we got to make sure we take advantage of those.
What do you think about special teams?
Well, obviously, let up a punt return touchdown. It's not a great deal. I thought there's some things that I thought we did really well. I thought that Ian Brandt punted the ball pretty well. Even on the one that got returned, it was a good punt. We did not execute base things that we do very well on a normal basis. We did not do on that play. So I thought Ian did a pretty nice job. I thought we did a pretty nice job in even, I know it's only extra points, but I thought we protected well there. And did some things. So at special teams, there was some good and some bad. We've got to, other than that one punt, we actually covered punts pretty well, and did some things. So but the problem with special teams is it only takes one, right? And so that's the issue, and it gets turned around pretty fast. So we've been pretty good on special teams here for a long time, so I think there was certainly an added emphasis on Sunday, and there will be again this week. Not that there ever isn't, but I think it's a lot easier for people to see now how important it is.
Having seen these units in game action now, I'm talking about secondary, receiver, defensive line, something like that. Were there any groups that you thought that made you think they're better than what I thought we had, or that really needs work?
No, I thought across the board, I thought we just need to be more consistent. I know I think every single group flashed and did some really, really good things, and then there's other times where it was not so good things, right? And I'm on the plane and getting upset watching the tape. So it was more about the consistency. The other thing I think that it showed was how important practice is and how important taking the practice, the skills that you learn in practice to the game field. I did not think we did that very well in terms of, our tackling, our defeating blocks, our finishing blocks, and then obviously the special teams errors that we had. I thought that those things, we didn't take the practice very well to the game. And that's something that obviously I'm directly responsible for. So that was where I was personally frustrated on that end.
When you're able to give a punch and take a punch from a Big Ten school like that in their house, how do you think that kind of sets the tempo for the rest of your schedule in a positive way?
I mean, I think our guys saw when they execute it the way they know how and the way they can that they can play with anybody. There wasn't anybody who came away from that game happy with the result because every single person in that locker room thought that we were going to win that game. And I think, obviously from the first offensive play of the game, that shows that. But then it also shows, I think when we, you get to halftime and you're right there and you know what can happen. So I think that, there's positives knowing that if we execute the right way that we can hang with anybody, but there's no moral victories. I mean, everyone wanted to and expected to win that game.
Going back to special teams, you had the running into the punter, which to me looked more like roughing the punter. What's the typical differentiator between those two?
If you find out, you let me know. I would love to know the answer to that. I know what the rule says. The rule is if there's forcible contact to the plant leg or an aggressive nature running through the punter, then it's roughing. If there's forcible contact to the kicking leg, then it's running into. So you guys all have the ability to watch those plays and see for yourself. Obviously, as I'm sure you could probably see on TV, I was not pleased with that call. I mean, that being said, I mean, that stuff happens so fast, in time. And it's, I will say this, the referees have an even harder job today than they've ever had. And there's two reasons why, all right? The number one reason why, well, really three reasons. Number one reasons why is the players are bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been, right? The second reason why, all right, is we have the iPads on the sideline, so I can watch the stuff during the game. So even if, and good for them, right? The Indiana producers of that game were not going to show the replay of that. They refused to show that one up top, so they weren't going to show that. Good for them. They shouldn't. But I have an iPad, so I'm able to see it. And so now the ref may have their opinions on the play, but now I have mine based on seeing it live and based on seeing it 42 times on an iPad. That's tough because now we have more information than they do, right? And that's a tough deal right there for them. The third thing that makes it tough is just overall slow motion and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's the thing that I try to never do. I don't ever try to watch any play that I have a question on. I never try to watch it on slow motion because they don't get that. They don't get that thing. I try to watch it in the same time that they would have to, because like slow motion, you could say anything is something in slow motion. So I think that's a little bit over the top. But I'll be very honest. There was a play that I thought was not a very good call during that game. And then when I saw it later, it was a good call. I was wrong, dead wrong. So, it happens both ways.
As a program that plays guarantee games, you're now on the other end of that this week. What would you say to people who might assume this is a cupcake kind of week? You mentioned Central's record. I assume you'll go there.
Yeah. Well, they're 27-8 over the last 3 years. They've been 4-1 in their league each of the last 3 years. They have 4 returning offensive linemen, right? They have 2 returning offensive tight ends, one of which is in his 6th year, all right? They have a quarterback who's a returning starter. They have returning starters at wide receiver. Their running back was their backup last year, but he's still a good player. They have 5 returning starters on defense. I mean, they're a good team. They're a real good team. And I'm going to tell you the other thing. When you watch the tape, particularly from last year, not necessarily from this year, you watch the tape, they got great fan support. I mean, that stadium is filled up and rocking. And so they don't have any illusion. This team doesn't have any illusion of thinking to themselves like, okay, well, this week we get to play big time football, right? They think they play big time football every week based on the things I've seen. So it's going to be a challenge for us. And I think that if you just look at college football from last week, right? You go back through and just week 1 of college football. I don't care if it's an FCS to an FBS or if it's a group of 6 to a Power 4. None of these games are. I think we better, the guarantee part of it is pretty much gone at this point. I mean, there's battles across the board.
Any questions for Coach? Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Barlev, okay. Mark, you want to start us off with Zach?
Sure.
So, man. How we doing?
Zach, how we doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good. That wasn't my question. So, just coming back home, you've played plenty of games in front of this crowd, not since last November. Is there kind of an extra little burst to get back out here in front of the home crowd?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the last year our student section was really good. Our crowd was amazing for our season. Like, we might not have had the best season that we wanted to have, but every week our stadiums were packed, and that's what, as a college football player, you just love being at a home game, seeing the packed stadium.
Coach was talking about the numerous reasons why people should not overlook North Carolina Central. I take it you guys are taking that same approach.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta treat every game like we played Indiana. It's like, but we gotta treat they're a Big Ten team. We gotta treat this FCS team like a Big Ten team. I remember 2 years ago it happened where I think they looked down on their opponent and they had a close game. Like, we can't do that this week. We have to treat them like we treated Indiana last week, and so we don't overlook them.
What did you take away from last week's game?
Defense played pretty physical. Offense, the O-line just needs to cut the little mistakes, but I think one of our best pass protecting games since last year. We only gave up 1 sack. That was our big takeaway out of that game.
What do you feel the offense needs to work on to kind of get, back in sync, so to speak, and not so sluggish?
Mainly the little things. Mainly for the O-line, we just falling off blocks, not punching well enough. It's mainly offensive line. I don't know too much about any of the skills positions, but I mean, Indiana was a really good team. I think we played pretty hard against a good top 25 team.
Coach said this proves we can play with anybody in the country. Is that kind of your takeaway too, as a squad?
I mean, yeah, you should always have that mindset. You play anyone, you should have we're gonna beat this team, no matter if it's Alabama or if it's a D3 team. You should always have we can always beat this team no matter what. I mean, if we play our ball, we could play with any team in the country.
Have you seen any specific challenges presented by North Carolina Central defense?
Their DNs I've seen are pretty physical and pretty athletic. I think they're their biggest standing point in their defense.
Playing Indiana, they still have a couple guys still from JMU. Did that familiarity help you any?
A little bit. It was we were preparing against JMU from 2 years ago, thinking that's what they're going to run. They did bring out a lot of different fronts that we weren't really looking forward to. We were looking more for something different, but I mean, we came out. It was also nice to see that. I mean, we were looking at the guys that we played 2 years ago. It's a lot of similarities kind of helps you notice. We play Kamara. Kamara played 2 years ago. Seeing his film from 2 years and now, it helped really well.
Were you able to talk to Grant?
I did pregame. I did have one conversation with Grant, but I mean,
is that becoming more normal? I mean, it's like in pro baseball, a guy gets traded and then his team comes to Norfolk in AAA and guys talk during batting practice, and it's not weird at all.
Mm-hmm.
But are you seeing more of that now, guys you've seen before?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really weird, but it's like, it's a different feeling because, it's like this guy was on our team. But the thing with baseball is, I mean, they get traded. So it's like, it's not their decision to leave. For transfer portal, it's like, yeah, like this guy was on our team, but decided to just leave us. It's kind of like a different feeling, I feel like.
Anything else for Zach? All right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Chris, how are you, man? Mark, start us off again with Chris.
All right.
Needs to get focused first.
Oh, I'm focused. Hey, Chris. Coach said, hey, we can play with anybody in the country. That was the big takeaway. Is that, I asked Zach the same thing. Was that kind of how you guys leave this game feeling too?
I mean, yeah, definitely. We first we got to prioritize the mistakes we made and really learn off of those. But I feel like if everybody do they 111, we can definitely play with anybody in the country.
What about being back home here? I know you first time since November. Is there kind of a little bit of an extra eagerness to get out there in front of the home crowd?
Yeah, definitely, man. The guys, we always talk, we love the home crowd. They all show a lot of support, and we're really appreciative of that.
What goes through your head that this is your last home opener?
I mean, it's kind of crazy, a little bittersweet. Been here a long time, did a lot of good things, man. I just want to really keep it going.
Defense was flying around against Indiana, especially in the red zone. What do you think about the red zone defense last week?
I really just, I feel like it really shows the true nature of our defense. We play with a lot of grit, you know what I'm saying? Our coach, like you say, he give us answerable defended.
Coach said that Jason, for the first time in a long time, was really flying around, progressing as the game, went on. What did that mean to you to be able to see that?
I mean, him and everything. I don't know if y'all see it, but when I see them flying around making them plays, I almost got excited, man, a little bit, man. I just could feel good. I feel like he really coming back to himself.
Right before you guys got in here, Coach was going over the reasons why you guys aren't overlooking North Carolina Central.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those reasons from your perspective? And I take it that you guys have the same approach.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, we're a team that can, in some situations, be seen as an underdog. And we know how serious we take situations like that. There's no telling what other men will do, so we respect every opponent we play.
You go from playing a ranked team that obviously everybody's heard of to a rather obscure program that maybe people on the West Coast don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage your enthusiasm between those two extremes?
I mean, to be honest, me personally, I like to respect every opponent I play. And I feel like it would be disrespectful if I wasn't as enthusiastic to go against them,
What have you seen on video about Central that they're?
Yeah, good group of guys. I know that quarterback get the ball out fast. I know they tend to move around a lot as well. So I'm really looking forward to go against that.
Moving forward, you guys had, like I said, great red zone defense. The rush defense, what can you guys do moving forward to kind of help limit that?
Really, to be honest, just fit everything the right way. Like I said before, guys got to do their 111. We can't do too much. We really just got to focus on what our job is at the moment and prioritize that.
Anything else for Chris? All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.